Hi, friend. Happy Sunday. I I've been thinking about Sundays. Sundays are my reclamation day for the spiritual and for rest and maybe a little organization and nesting. But today I went to church today for the first time. I don't know how long. Sorry, I just ate popcorn. I also went to the farmer's market and got some $20 a jar popping corn. Um, anyhow, my son has started going to church, and I've been in this contemplation for a while around um, sacred form and sacred architecture and how structure and architecture blend with the spiritual and communal world. And I was sitting in this church today, and I was looking at the structure, and I've had this fantasy of reclaiming abandoned churches and kind of reviving. I guess what I want to say is there's a reason why all cultures around all time periods that are traceable gathered in worship and sacred practice. Right, that's going to keep happening. And with the American culture, we've sort of thrown out religious dogma, and it's a bit of kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, which I think is really dangerous. And I think we're seeing the stats of mental health as largely as a result of many things like chemicals in our food and in our crops and in our earth and all of that. And like industrialized education, all those things, taking ourselves out of nature, many things. But I think one of the more powerful things in my life is my spiritual faith. And so, and not to say that everyone needs to have spiritual faith, but just to say that community gathering, singing in a community, surrendering yourself to a higher power and having faith, for me personally, is the difference between an anxious and depressed life and a very peaceful and joyful and radiant life. And that's very real for me. And a big part of what is such a gift for me around that is bringing people together in community and song. And I've been doing this wholehearted choir too. I started doing that, which is just stunning. You can't leave there in a bad mood. You can you can't go in with a bad day and leave without it without just being high and in the vibe. And so this is one of the things I think about a lot. And I was looking at this, in the churches right now, the way they're kind of structured with the hierarchy. What it feels like to me is it's orienting towards group prayer or towards lessons and teaching from the pulpit or whatever. But one of the things that I really cherish about community gatherings is when we're gathered in circle and we're on equal footing, right? And that when the space and the architecture provides that structure. And so domes and circular formations create these kind of equal equal platform and contribution circles, which is how I personally sit in spiritual community and find that to be incredibly powerful. And I recognize too that there's a great template for also people that have knowledge to educate large groups of people. And I guess I'm bringing this up. We have higher power in between worlds. I'm bringing this up because the church service that I sat in was talking about the resurrection, or like, I don't know how you say it, Judgment Day. I'm a little bit ignorant in all of this. And part of what I wanted to do was hear what my son was hearing. And so today they were talking about this kind of resurrection of Jesus and like Judgment Day, essentially, and that if you've chosen Jesus, if you haven't chosen Jesus, that you'll be kind of cut away so that everyone can evolve. And the truth is that I do think that we're in this threshold of what spiritual teachers call the new earth, the new template, the new world. And in some ways, I think that, and I know this is a design platform, but I'm blending these because I think they're related. I'll get back to what I was just saying, but let me just kind of go back a little bit. Back in ancient times, design, architecture, physicality, spirituality, when you set certain dates, like all of it was related. All of it was, people used to go to astrologers or there were Vedic specialists, that were also in the realm of spirituality and really the kind of true essence of psychology, right? And for millennia, we consulted with the spiritual advisors before we built buildings. And we had there were certain principles that you built by that translated into all the different energetic realms and translations. And so this used to be a part of the architecture of the design. And I think this is the part that interests me the most. So I'll go back to this New Earth template. Like you hear Eckhart Tolle and Dolores Cannon and multiple other people talking about the New Earth, the New World. Nat Khan, many people, Deepak Chopra. And from my perception, and it's not to say that my perception makes another perception wrong, but from my perception, the Christ energy represents the Christ energy. It represents this heart-centered love and compassion and peace in an embodied form. And from my personal perspective, I think that has the potential to take place in each person. And I think that's what the teachings were all originally designed to teach. And so what I sense and what I experience and what I feel to be true is that this consciousness is resurrecting, and that this is also the same energetic as the resurrection, as the Judgment Day. And I think what I know to be true for myself is that when I'm not in full surrender to a loving, compassionate, core, peaceful energy, I'm living in a deep state of resistance and hell. And so to me, the scripture is actually, I'm with it. I'm totally with it. And And I think there's this reclamation of the spiritual with our lives that is starting to surface. And it's, we have this between worlds. We oscillate with these types of social movements in history. And so, at least in the United States, and obviously it's different everywhere in the world, but with the United States, with this kind of outing of the spiritual and almost us being almost like allergic to it, there's going to be this counterbalance to that. And this reclamation of, not because it's the right thing to do, but it's because it's the most embodied aspect of ourselves, in my opinion, and it creates a sovereignty and a like an internal power, I want to say. I had no plan coming into this, so I'm not sure where we're going. I went to go look up like spiritual architecture and sacred architecture, and there's something called Vastu Shasta, which is like the Vedic form of what the Indians say is the original kind of feng shui. Vastu Shasta. Oh no, my light's out. And then you have feng shui. Turn it. So just gonna have to get me blurry and so there's Vastu Shasta, which we trace back to 10,000 years ago. I think there are, like Graham Hancock has this whole philosophy around ancient architecture and like how old it is. And I don't think we actually know how old. Like it looks like a lot of the structures that we called like Egyptian were structures that the Egyptians came into, and the structures like Machu Picchu looks like the Mayans came into, and they were already there. So we don't actually know how far back this architecture methods go, which is a whole other can of worms, which is super fun to dive into. If you've never heard of Graham Hancock, he's a trip. An English journalist, and he gets into like the nitty-gritty historic mysteries and investigations of ancient temples and spaces and structures, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And you can go into some rabbit holes with all of that. But anyway, I had a really wonderful time at the church. At the end, we stood up and we sang, and it was actually pretty good. Like the musicians were pretty good. Like they'd kind of modernized it a little bit. And I love getting together. I think the getting together in groups and singing and bringing frequencies together in a community in surrender and faith and love, like, is one of the highest forms of prayer and meditation, and from my perspective. So anyway, just was thinking about all that, and was thinking about sacred architecture and thinking about dome structures and thinking about how do we create community gathering spaces, and how do we reclaim that, while doing our best not to pull in the dogmatic and judgmental and controlling aspects of those institutions. I do think there's this reclamation that wants to happen. Very much so. I think there's a seeking right now and a sort of lost, there's a little bit of a lost and numb dynamic that I see in the culture that is reaching. So, you know what I do want to do? I have these Mother Mary cards. And this was like, so I've had these experiences where, in my spiritual practices, the Yeshua and Mary energies have gotten really, like, I used to pray when I was younger, and then I kind of didn't have any association with that. And then in my more recent, like 5-6 years or so, this Mary and Yeshua energy has come really strong into my awareness and into my spiritual kind of seeking and knowledge and understanding. And I did like a sacred sites tour for Magdalena. And there's some really interesting theories, philosophies, historical references around all of it. Let's see, 24. And what's also fun is today I had my Kriya session with my family. Are we do breath work? Okay. Our Lady of Great Power, my robes from the heavens above, in my sacred feet the earth spins. In my eyes, the stars of the night sky are born and shine. My hair forms galaxies, and in my heart many suns burn with divine love. What is there that can be greater than I? I am all. I that am all. I that am all. I that am love. Any fear, any doubt, any problem or concern, I hold you in my being so vast. There is nothing more powerful than I. I am the love that is all you are. Fear can loom so large at times that it might seem impossible to conquer. Doubt, despair, grief, and rage take possession of our being, and all of a sudden, there is no way out of the negativity or horror that we may be brave enough to feel. As part of our honest emotional human journey, we are asked to feel the challenging emotions. They are part of what helps us rally the courage and strength to make choices that are helpful and healing to our planet. Whenever we can. We cannot feel the horror of what is happening around us. If we cannot feel the horror of what is happening around us, we might lack the passion needed to summon all our strength to act, to heal, to help, and to speak out. It takes a truly great leader to be a great warrior for love on this planet. This leader does not give us false hope or imaginings that all the problems that need solving will just magically go away. If we close our eyes and hope hard enough, instead of if we close our eyes and hope hard enough. Instead, the leader inspires us with genuine encouragement and empowerment. This leader is honest about our healing light really being needed on the planet. There are environmental and social economic problems on this planet that are not all right and will need to fall apart so that healing can occur for the greater good. Without that honest, conscious acknowledgement that there is a great wounding in our world that needs repair, we can be left with an undercurrent of anxiety, a feeling that something is wrong, but it is not being openly acknowledged. Without this acknowledgement, constructive solutions are not being implemented. We must be careful that we do not allow our genuine optimism, which keeps us open and active, to become a source of falsehood. We must not allow it to tell us that nothing need happen and everything is fine, when the Divine Mother tells us that this is not true at all. We need to be honest with ourselves and with our suffering and need not fear it. We need to be aware of it, and through the awareness, healing can occur. Yet we also need that leader to inspire us with genuine hope and self-esteem, which helps us feel empowered to be able to make a difference. This will prevent us from collapsing in despair, believing that nothing can change, whether in our own lives or in the world around us. Our Lady of Great Power comes with a special message from such inspired spiritual leadership, which is the leadership of Heavenly Mother herself. She tells us that no matter what we may be trying to accomplish upon this earth, she has the power to assist us towards success, and that power is beyond any obstacle. No matter whether a personal matter, a social matter, an environmental issue, legal or financial, spiritual crisis, or beloved other that needs our help, we can pray to her and she will provide us with what is needed. Our job is to act on that with trust, praying, listening, and responding, waiting and acting and reflecting. This is how we live with her in her grace and in the magnificence of her great power. She asks now that you dispense with any habits or beliefs that it must all be accomplished on your own. She knows that you have struggled to find the support you have needed at times in your past, and she asks that you put that behind you now. It helped you grow strong and develop self-reliance, but your task is different now. Oof, I'm getting chills. You have the strength and enough self-awareness to know who you are and what has meaning for you. You know to remain true to yourself, even if you are in partnership or collaboration, joining forces with others. You are being asked to allow yourself to be helped so that you can become an empowered channel for her grace to reach the world. So pray, be open, and know that she is powerful beyond measure. So this will be my little merry message to you for the holidays. And sending you love to your family, to your heart, and trust, and guided action. Till next time.